Well, I worked Sundays for many years and got up about 3:30. And the first thing I would do would be go downtown because the Sunday free press would be already on the streets. And I would get my free press and find a Crystal or someplace that was open all night and get me a cup of coffee. And I would open to section 4 or 5, I don't remember what it was, and I would read the first thing, Collins at City Hall by J.B. Collins, and right below it was an article, Parker and the People by Julius Parker. Well, J.B. Collins is still with us, and 2017, he's 100 years young. And J.B. is here with me today. J.B., hello there.
Hi.
It is so good to see you.
Well, hey, it's really good to see you. Anybody at my age, I guess.
Did you ever think you'd live to be 100?
Never thought about it. It just, all I did was just, all of a sudden it happened. That's one thing about getting old. You can't keep from getting old.
Yeah.
Most people don't want to get old, but the alternative is not too good.
Well, we've read your articles over the years, 70 years? And
69.
But we don't know much about you maybe as a kid. Where were you born and raised?
Chattanooga.
You're Chattanooga native?
Macaulay Avenue.
Macaulay Avenue.
I was born on Macaulay Avenue, 1917.
1917.
And I've been a resident all my life. I went away for King College 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a Chattanoogan.
Yeah, and you always lived downtown?
In the area.
I
I moved in Fort Oglethorpe for a while, and I served on the first government there for a while, and in connection with my free press coverage of the city hall.
I can't imagine.
They wanted me down there to open up their government.
I can't imagine you being on the city council.
I was on the city council, the first one at Fort Oglethorpe.
Really?
Yeah, and I enjoyed that. But I've been in some city government for a long time, Earl. But I enjoyed it.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school at Central High, graduated in 1935. I was planning to go into the plumbing business because my dad was a plumber. I had made no effort to get high grades or anything because no incentive. John Chambliss, a lawyer in town,
Mm-hmm.
he and my dad had some work together. Daddy did some work for him. John called me in his office one time when I graduated from high school. He said, J.B., do you want to go to college? I said, no, never thought about it. I always got the average C's in college, but never tried. I was going to be a plumber. Well, John Chambliss sent me to King College. I went 4 years, graduated magna cum laude as valedictorian because of his influence, John Chambliss. And I've been very grateful to him for all my life. And he started me out in the newspaper business.
Oh, he did? I was going to ask you.
Yeah, when I graduated, I was going to be a teacher. I was going to be a teacher. But I got the chance to go to the free press. Roy McDonald put me into the free press. And I have enjoyed 59 years.
Wow. Has anybody been there as long as you have? I guess Lee Anderson was there.
Oh, no, he was there longer because I retired.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm older, was older than Lee, but Lee stayed on because after all, he had a big interest in the paper. He married the boss's daughter. But Lee was a great guy. He and I were great friends, and I was sure missed him when he passed.
What was your first assignment? Most junior reporters have the obits. Did you write the obituaries?
Well, I did that on Saturdays. We all did spend Saturdays on obits. But I got into the city hall pretty early.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was there. I got in 1943 or 4. It was Ed Bass.
Mayor Bass.
Ed Bass was leaving, and I got to know Ed Bass real well. And he got to be a real good friend. I went down to visit him and flew down there and visited in Florida when he retired. So I was at City Hall for 70 years.
Was that what you wanted to do?
didn't think about it. It just happened. It's just the Lord, I guess, put me there. I don't know. I'm a Christian, and I believe you do what He wants you to do.
Yeah.
You may not know about it.
Right.
But Earl, I enjoyed about years at the Free Press, covering City Hall.
You had a challenge because the Free Press, you had to have your stories in by 11:30 because they started printing it so they could get it out in the afternoon.
That's a bad thing, too. Meetings were still going on in the middle of the day. Freer Gibson had all day. He was my competitor for the Times.
Yeah.
His deadline was late. My deadline was early, and I had to scramble, buddy.
I remember the first time they sent me down to City Commission, second time, I don't know, but it was early covering City Commission. They had a little table there, and then it was sort of an oval-shaped desk where all the commissioners sat. I sat down in the right chair. I was there early. Somebody come in and says, "That's J.B. Collins' seat, and that's Springer Gibson's seat." I said, "Who are they?" "Well, you'll find out. You'll find out in a few minutes." I got up, and you came in, and Springer was sitting there. But they had you a reserved place for years, didn't they? And the rest of us just had to sit in the back.
I was there for a long time, Earl, and I guess that was the difference that I earned by just being there, I guess. But I enjoyed being at City Hall.
Now, I've heard the story about when you and Lee Anderson went down to cover the 9th Ward and they had to call in the sheriff.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Well, they were stuffing the ballot boxes I got word that they were stuffing the ballot boxes.
You got a tip?
Yeah, and so I went down there, and they saw me coming and didn't want me to come in and try to keep me out. Well, one of the retired officers who knew me helped them back while I took pictures of them, and we exposed them for stuffing the ballot boxes and made the news and all that.
Lee Anderson was with you.
Lee was with me, but that's back when he was very kind of young. That was early.
Before the editor job?
Yeah, he was just a reporter at that time.
Yeah.
So Lee and I go back years.
They said that one of you, I don't know which one, held your foot in the door so they couldn't close the door.
I don't remember that, but I remember the sheriff, deputy sheriff came in, was helping for keeping them off of me. The people didn't want me there because I had a camera.
Yeah.
And I was taking pictures of them, and they were stuffing the ballot box. We called it the act.
Now, you've written at least 2 books?
They said I did one time. I didn't really write the book, but they gave me credit for it.
Oh, come on now!
I didn't write books so much.
Your name is on the front of this book, J.B. Collins, and you're sitting up on City Hall, and it's a book about Highland Park Baptist Church.
I was a great friend of the Highland Park people. My brother was a member there, and the leaders were friends of mine. They did this and started a difference to me. I didn't write much of it, but they gave me the credit for it.
Well, now, look, you brought me this book back when I went to Temple in 2005, and you didn't sign it. Can I get you to sign it now for me?
I'll be glad to do that, Earl.
Yeah, just sign it up there for me. Now, you say you didn't write, but this has got your handprint all over it. There's a picture of Elgin Smith in there. There's Arnold Chambers, Mayor Robert Kirk Walker went to that church.
All friends of mine.
Yeah, and this was back when Mayor Walker was mayor of the city of Chattanooga.
Well, I was very close. I'm a Presbyterian, but I've always been close to this church here because my brother's a member, and I admired the leaders of that church. At that time, that church was the big church in Chattanooga.
Yeah, it was probably one of the first mega churches in the United States.
And they gave me a lot of attention, and I responded in kind, and so I became not a member of the church, but my heart was with the church. It has been for years.
I want to know about this snake handling business. How did you get an assignment to go to the snake handlers up at Dolly Pond? Was that Lee's idea?
Lee Anderson, when it first started, they said there's handling snakes up there. He said, "J.B., go up there." So I went up there, and they took me in like I was a member. And I worked with them for about 2 months.
2 months?
Yeah, back and forth. I'd go back and forth.
Did they ever pass one to you?
No, sir. I never had one. I didn't have
You never had the desire to handle any of them?
Never. I a long way off, but I did take pictures and watch them. I did a series of articles on those people. They were strange people, all uneducated, really, but very dedicated to their cause. They believed in it. I didn't, and I didn't. But I wrote over a period of weeks. So
and they were very hospitable to you.
Oh yeah, they took me in. They wanted to make me one of the members, but Earl, I never could handle a snake.
You never had a
no.
Well, now your book says that one of the members was bitten and died, and 2,500 people went to the funeral.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you go?
Yeah,
you went to the funeral.
We all went.
Did they handle snakes at the funeral?
I'm not sure. I really they didn't let them do that. See, they wherever the police, when they came to town, the police wouldn't let them handle snakes.
Yeah.
They went out of town to handle snakes. I never handled one you couldn't believe. You don't think I'd handle one, will you?
Your book did pretty good, didn't it?
Well, yeah, I took pictures, but I didn't handle snakes.
And you didn't save any of those.
I don't know what they just sort of got away. We got one book left. My wife kept one.
Yeah.
I could get rid of a lot of them now if I had them.
You sure could.
Yeah.
Tell me how you met your wife, Polly.
Polly she was at the paper. Worked at the paper in the business department. I worked in the editorial department, and we just sort of got. Day in and day out, while we got to know each other, and things happened, and we got married.
Yeah. Now they say that one of your first dates was the Crystal. Was that right? I heard that.
We went to. It was first date was a dinner at the Patton Hotel. Was it, Polly? What?
Patton Hotel. Yeah.
Oh. We went to
they had a big dining room then.
We went to a meeting at the Tivoli Theater, didn't we?
Did you go to Gone with the Wind premiere?
They had something going on at Tivoli. We ate dinner at the Reed House.
Oh, Reed House.
And then moved over to the Tivoli and went to something at the Tivoli.
At the Tivoli.
Oh,
was that right?
You were with the boys' choir?
First date, huh?
You were with the boys' choir?
Yeah, I wasn't a member of it, but I covered the.
Oh, okay.
I took pictures for them.
Who was the director then? The guy from Macaulay? I forget his name.
Earl, I wasn't that close to.
Everett O'Neill was director when my son.
I never was that close to him. I supported them, but I had other. But I took some pictures for them and wrote stories for them, but and supported them. But I never was that close.
Let's talk about the mayors. So you started with Mayor Bass.
I sure did.
What should he be remembered for?
Well, he was leaving at the time I went in 1940. He had been there for years and years.
I've got to
go. And we got to be pretty close. He was leaving, and I wrote some nice things about him, and he ingratiated him with the public, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And when he retired, I drove him down in his car to Florida, where he spent the rest of his life. So,
and there's not one or two things that you remember that he did for the city, just a good mayor?
Well, he was in his declining years when I was there.
I see.
He was really kind of old and kind of helpless, really.
Yeah.
But he'd been there so many years.
Yeah.
But
who succeeded him?
Succeeded him. I guess a long time ago, and Ed Bass, E.R. Betterton moved in when he retired.
And they named the bridge after him, the Betterton Bridge.
Yeah, he came in after, and he was vice president, and so
vice mayor.
Mayor, so he became mayor. And
was he a good mayor?
Yeah, he didn't stay very long, and I was with all the mayors all the way through the years.
Who was after Betterton? Was it Ojati?
Ojati came in later. First it was Betterton, and then Ojati He was there for.
And we know what Mayor Ojotty's known
Oh,
for,
yeah.
urban renewal and the Ojotty
well,
Bridge.
He did the railroad relocation thing. Moved all the railroads out of town.
A lot of people didn't like him because of what he did to Cameron Hill.
I don't know why. He was a strong mayor.
Yeah, yeah.
But he got a lot of things done. But
where would we be without that freeway?
I don't know. He did a lot for. He didn't have much education, real education. But I think it was what kept him from being governor. He would have been governor. But he made the statement one time saying, "I did it for education," and he just didn't make it. He tried to be. He ran for governor.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he ran for governor and failed it. And after that, he sort of.
Did you ever make him mad with any of your articles?
I'm sure I did. But he was a strong, very strong man.
Yeah.
Pat Rose was my favorite mayor.
Now, well, let's not forget Ralph Kelly. You were in
I was there for Ralph Kelly too. Yeah, I was there for all of them. But
Ralph Kelly was Billy Bragger. You remember that campaign they had Billy Bragger and the litter campaign, Clean Up Chattanooga? I remember Bob Elmore telling me about
well,
that.
I remember Bob real well. I'm not so sure. I don't remember that particular campaign. But
was Kelly a good mayor?
Who?
Ralph Kelly a good
Oh
mayor?
yeah, he did it very well. He stopped. He got a chance to be promoted. To
bankruptcy judge.
The bankruptcy judge, and he left. He suddenly got sick. He couldn't finish his.
Oh.
He said, and he was replaced, and then he ended up a bankruptcy mayor.
Now, after Ralph Kelly, was it Robert Kirk Walker?
You're getting in the area of my elder mind.
Well, if we mess up on a fact or two, this is the best of our knowledge. Okay.
Robert Kirk came in after the mayor, of course. I was there for all the mayors.
Yeah, Robert Kirk Walker was here mayor during that flood of what, 72, 73?
Yeah.
You remember the flood?
Oh yeah.
Eastgate went underwater.
Yeah, we had. This place here, where I'm living now, was on the edge of the water at that time.
Oh, really? East Lake was on the edge?
We had some serious problems.
How much water came up?
It came pretty close to where I'm living now.
Yeah. Well, let me backtrack a minute.
Yeah.
Did you go to the dedication or maybe the groundbreaking and dedication of Chickamauga Dam when President Roosevelt came to town?
Yes, but I didn't do any. I didn't happen to cover it.
It wasn't your story.
I didn't cover it. It wasn't my beat.
Yeah.
But I was here and.
Did you get to shake hands with the president?
I didn't. I did with the vice president one time. It came in and visited. A vice president. You're challenging my memory right now.
Just the fact you shook hands with the vice president.
Yeah,
that's good. That's good.
He met with some of the big shots in Chattanooga, and they invited me in to take pictures with them, with the mayor.
And you didn't say many of those pictures, J.B.
No, I don't know. I didn't say pictures. I took too many of them for that.
Yeah. But well, after Ralph Kelly, Kirk Walker, then was it Pat Rose?
Pat was my favorite.
He was
favorite governor.
Now, he was Public Works Commissioner before he was mayor.
He was Public Works Commissioner, but Pat has a personality that's ingratiating. Anybody that doesn't like Pat Rose, he doesn't like anybody. But Pat's still my friend. He served.
You chat with him every now and then?
Yeah, we talk. I talked the other day to talk to Pat.
And after Pat was Gene Roberts.
Gene Roberts.
Now, he was your friend too.
Yes, he was. He
was fire and police commissioner before mayor.
He was. Gene he died early with a problem. He had fatal.
I remember that. Yeah. Gene was a good friend.
He left us too early.
You remember it was you and me. They were having a little meeting, the unions and some of the city officials. It was up in Paul Clark's office. And you said, follow me. So I followed you. I had my recorder, you had your pad, and we went up there, and Gene answered the door. And he invited us both to come in. And he says, these guys are not going to tell anything that we don't want them to tell. We sat there through that whole meeting between some of the city unions, and I think Gene Roberts was there, maybe Pat Rose and Paul Clark. Yeah. But I never will forget that. And you let me tag along.
Well, I was in the gang, you know. if they did anything, they wanted me there to record it. So I got in on everything for years and years at City Hall. I had the fortune, the good fortune of being at the very beginning of all that went on there.
Now tell me about Ruth Thomas, the elevator operator.
Oh, she was a stable. She was a.
That's where you got all your tips.
Everybody liked Ruth.
That's where you got all your tips.
And Ruth was ready. We didn't really need an elevator girl. We did operate the thing ourselves, but we wanted to keep. The city kept her on because everybody liked her.
Yes, sir.
She's a black lady, very likable. Everybody liked Ruth. She liked everybody, and she was there for most of my time at the paper.
And you got a lot of tips from her.
Oh yeah, she knew what was going on.
You remember the time I come up the steps, and I think you were there in the lobby, and you said, "Earl, come on, follow me." We got in the elevator, and you said, so I was quiet. I didn't say anything. You said, "Ruth, what's going on up here at City Hall?" "Commissioner Eberly's office." "Thank you, Ruth." The elevator opens, you go in Eberly's office, and I'm right behind you, and you got your story, and I got a story.
Ruth knew where everything. She knew where everything was hidden.
Yeah.
She knew where all the bad things were hidden up there. But my time at City Hall was a great opportunity for me.
Now, one of the best city commissions was Gene Roberts, Paul Clark, Pat Rose, Johnny Franklin, and Jim Eberly. That was one of the best in my opinion.
That was a good one, yeah.
That was a good, because
I was there for all of them, but
they tried to be unanimous when they could.
I was there for all through the whole thing. So Pat was my very favorite.
Yeah.
I was friends with all of them, but something about Pat that was ingratiating. And he's still around. We talk every once in a while.
Okay. How did you come about writing your article, Collins at City Hall? Whose idea was that? Was that Lee's?
I don't know how that came up. Collins at City Hall.
I got one here.
Yeah.
I got
I'm
one.
trying to think, Earl. I'm beginning at 100 years old. Your mind drifts away.
This is 1988, and you wrote it about me.
Oh, I had to call him.
I know it. That Collins at City Hall.
Oh,
I would read that.
I had a Sunday column. I had to write one every Sunday.
Yeah.
So I had a Sunday column.
Yeah, and you would write about something going on at City Hall, and I think we had some of the when Eberly and Clark got out of office. I said one day, we're going to have a former city council commission meeting on the air. And they come over, and we talked about current issues. Of course, they didn't have any say in it, but you wrote a story about that.
Well, Collins City Hall was a week. That's a weekly column.
Yeah. And then I got another article here, runoff hopefuls. You don't remember it, but when I was president of the Journalistic Society, you and Irby Park came to the meetings, and we set up some runoffs there between some of the candidates. And it was you and Irby and Mike Lofton at the time made it possible for me to go to the national meeting in Milwaukee. I never will forget that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm not worthy to go. And J.B. says, oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. I said, no, some of you guys that have been on the streets longer than me need to go. Y'all raised $600 and sent me.
I did a few good things in my life, didn't I?
Well, I never will forget that. It was CBS year, and we got to meet Walter Cronkite and some of those people too.
Those were good days, weren't they, Earl?
Yeah, they were good days. Your pastime is golf.
It did. At first, it was early when I had my kids. I had to do something with my kids, so we used to fish. But when they retired, when they left the nest, I took up golf when I was 50 years old.
Tell me about your kids.
I have two sons, Benny and David. Both of them still around and helping their dad. They're both retired now. Benny was retired from the Free Press. David was a teacher up in the hills in Georgia. And they're my two boys, still fine boys, taking care of their dad. Couldn't get along without them. Just two. Only had two sons.
Now you also covered the school board meetings.
Oh, all of them.
And
yeah,
you were good friends with Dr. Jim Henry.
Oh yeah, sure. Dr. Jim Henry was one of the greatest, in my opinion. I covered all the school board meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I did. I can't remember. I don't believe I did all the things that I did, Earl. I didn't think I had time to do that.
And
I covered all the meetings.
We tried for metro government either 2 or 3 times. I can't remember. Was it 3 times maybe?
I don't remember that.
And you covered those.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you told me one time, you said metro government will never pass as long as we have 2 school systems.
Yeah.
Well, they come up and they merge the 2 school systems, and we still don't have metro government. What happened?
I don't know, but I'm glad they don't.
You like it the way it is?
Well, yeah, I did because I was used to it. The way it was, I didn't want to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been out of course, now for about 17, 18 years.
Right.
And I don't have anything to do with it now. But
And you oversaw the change of the city commission form of government to the city council.
I sure was.
And you said one time, well, I sort of like the old city commission form of government because you can get one-on-one easier with those guys at
there
City
were
Hall.
things about the old government that I liked, and something about the new government. I changed with it, Earl, and I adapted as everybody else adapted to the new one, and I got along all right with them.
How did you adapt from the typewriter to the computer?
It's kind of hard. I never did really get into the computer part of it. I got out pretty early before they got into that too much.
Did you ever think that we would have computers and you'd do your story and it would revolutionize the newspaper and all the rest of the
You know, I'm not sure I anticipated that, but I guess I got out in time before all of that started.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it.
And you didn't use a computer much in writing your stories?
I don't believe so. I'm trying to think.
Well, you know, Luther kept his typewriter till
Yeah.
he passed. I
Well,
mean, he had an old Royal.
I didn't have. Oh, I'm sorry. I just now remember. I changed over on the computer. I left the typewriter early. I just misunderstood what you're saying.
Yeah.
I went with the computer. I adjusted pretty well with the computer thing, and I can understand.
I can see you sitting there now.
Oh yeah. I went with. I got with, but I don't even have a computer here at home now.
No kidding.
I don't know.
Now wait a minute. You're too young not to have a computer.
I'm kind of. I don't know about that. We don't have a computer. I know I'm supposed to have, but I have the. I get the radio and television is still there, but I don't have a computer.
Yeah.
Still don't have one.
You worked with some good people, starting with Roy McDonald. Tell me about Roy.
Well,
McDonald.
Roy McDonald was like a dad to me. He was just a great guy. I had a lot of problems, some problems. And he stepped right in, and I had a son that had a little boy, 3 years old, had problems. He about to lose his eye, and the doctor said if you don't get him to another climate, he's going to lose his eye. And I took him down to Florida, and my wife and 2 boys left them down there and came back to the Free Press. And then Roy McDonald let me do that for 8 months while the child got recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, every 2 weeks he would fly me down to visit my family, and for that whole year until he got well, the Free Press kept me in touch with my family in Florida. I did the work at the Free Press. They stayed there, and my kid got well, and because what boss would do that?
Not many.
Nobody ever said anything about Mr. Roy that I was defensive. Wouldn't you be defensive of a guy who do that?
Well, I liked his home store and that milk and that ice cream.
Well, I didn't get involved with that, but he was just like a.
You didn't trade with home stores?
Oh yeah, but I said I was strict. I went to the boss's office. We worked. I was very close to Roy McDonald. I drove his automobile and got hijacked one time arriving in his car.
Tell me about that.
Well, I was going to cover my beat at the Earl Hospital, and at that time I didn't have but one car, and it was brought to the boss, and I drove Mr. Roy's car, and was going along in Ninth Street, stopped the stop street, and the guy jumped in, and shoved his fist in my side and said, "I'll shoot you if you don't drive on." And so, he was crazy. He turned out to be
Mm-hmm.
And then I drove on all right, and he said, he got to talking to me, and while we were driving, he said, I want you to go to a certain place, and I'm going to shoot you and take your car. I didn't know what to do, Earl.
What did you do?
Well, I said, I didn't know. I was waiting to see what was going to happen. We were driving along there, and he had this thing in my side, and I could see he was crazy and something was going wrong. So I said, it occurred to me to do something. I had to do it. And I said, let's go out this street. And he said, okay. And I turned out to go out the street. And as I turned the car, I opened the door with my elbow, fell out in the street, but the car kept going. I got up and ran and looked back, and he was just getting out of the car holding that pistol up. And I got away from him. And now the policeman never did catch him. He finally did. They called him later on, and they sent him away. He had a mental problem.
You were scared to death, huh?
He could have shot me. I jumped out. I'd just been with the paper 2 years, and I was on the boxing team at my school. I was in pretty good shape, and I was able to open that door of that car and roll out, and the car was still going.
Did you get to Erlanger to cover the story?
I don't know what it was. I ran. The car went in the ditch, and they caught him later on. He had held up somebody else, and he showed up at City Hall about 2 years later. I recognized him, and they sent him away as an incurable.
Yeah.
I guess he's either dead or that happened a long time ago.
Now you mentioned boxing. Were you a boxer in high school?
In high school.
Pretty good?
In college.
Pretty good?
I never did have any. I was a senior when a boxing opening came on the team, and I tried it out and got beat up a couple of times, but I was part of my college education.
Yeah. You remember Pearl Harbor?
Oh yeah, I was not there. I wasn't there, but I remember it very well.
Were you at the paper?
Yeah. You're challenging me right now.
December 7th?
Yeah.
Maybe.
What was that? What year was that?
41, I believe.
Well, I went to the paper in 1940.
Mm-hmm.
So I just gotten. I was still kind of a freshman at the paper, at the Pearl Harbor thing.
Did you have to serve any time?
No. But I was. I got there just.
You had a college deferment. Yeah. Okay. Did you meet some presidents? Presidents coming to. You met a vice president?
I can't think of his name.
Yeah. Did you meet Nixon when he came to town?
No, but Lee Anderson did.
Oh, he met him.
Yeah.
He met them all.
Yeah.
He was.
I didn't have. That was not my level of operation.
Oh, did you ever want to meet a president?
Who?
Did you ever want to meet a president?
Not really.
You were satisfied with the mayor, huh?
I guess. I never thought about it, Earl. They came to town. They did their thing. I did my thing. But I enjoyed a vice president, and I can't think of his name.
Well, that's all right. Tell me about some of your co-workers. We'll start with Julius Parker and Buddy House.
Buddy was one of a kind. Julius was a nice guy. He did his job well. He was city editor.
He covered the Jimmy Hoffa trial, I believe.
Well, he wasn't a reporter, really. He was on the city desk.
Really? Okay. He told me about the Hoffa trial some, yeah. He used to get his tips at the Quickie, which was across the street from the Federal Building.
I guess. He was on the city desk. He took we turned our news stuff into his desk, and he edited it and sent it on. He wasn't much of he didn't do a lot of reporting.
Well, now, he wrote that article that was on the same page as yours, didn't he? Parker and the People?
Yeah, he had a column.
Yeah.
He had a column, but
I got a copy of it here somewhere.
He didn't do reporting. He edited.
Yeah, okay.
He was an editor, and I was a reporter. I covered. He took my stories and edited it and sent it to the proper channels.
Yeah.
But he didn't do a lot of, he did cover the county government for a while,
Did
I
he?
believe. Most of the time, though, he was on city desk.
Yeah. John Wilson.
A great guy.
Surprised everybody. When
John-
he left the newspaper, he
listen.
went to the internet paper, and I had people say, he'll never make it, he'll never make it. And he's been one of the most best
Let me
success
tell you
stories
about
this
John.
area.
He's a very quiet, effective person. He was a city, he covered the county government,
Mm-hmm.
I covered the city government at the same time. John's one of the finest, most effective people in the newspaper business. I can't think of anybody comparable to John. He still is going good.
How did he get all those tips? He got tips of stories
Well, you get tips from people that have confidence in you. They had confidence in him. They talked to him, and he got tips that way.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't have confidence in you, you don't get tips.
He knew back in the old system of county, he knew the
He
county
covered
judges.
he covered the county government, and I covered the city government.
He was good friends with Dalton Roberts.
I
Dalton
guess
gave
he
him a lot of
was.
stories.
Dalton was in the county. I didn't work with Dalton much,
Mhm.
but I'd worked with all the city people.
Now, John Bass, there's a young man, I was in school with him, but he had the scoop on all the financial stories.
John's one of a kind. Still is. He's retired, but he's like my kid. He's the same age as my kids. And I told him he's my third kid. I got two boys. And so I called him my third kid, but he's such a nice kid. Nice young man. He retired now.
Mm-hmm.
He talked to me the other day. He called me on the phone.
John's a great guy.
I'm still in touch with John.
And Ronnie Moore was a good friend.
Ronnie Moore.
Ronnie passed away too early. He left us.
I like Ronnie. He covered the county for a while.
And he was Red Bank mayor for a while too.
Yeah, he was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But Ronnie was very, very
He's
dedicated.
a nice fellow. I liked Ronnie.
And I always liked Irby Park.
There was but one Irby Park. Oh me, I
had
met
stories.
somebody. Hey, in my career, I've met some interesting people.
Yeah, and Irby was one of them.
Yeah, he's one of them.
And David Cooper was the other
Well,
one.
David still is.
Yeah.
David's kind of like a son of mine. We go to the same church. He's an officer in the church now.
He wrote the history of First Presbyterian.
Well,
you wrote the history of Highland Park Baptist
Yeah,
Church.
but John did a good. I mean, my mind.
David Cooper, yeah.
David, one of the finest men I know.
Mhm.
It's like he's still going at it. He's still at the church, or has a responsible position for the church now. And I see David every Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of changes down through the years, and one of the big changes, of course, has been in my industry, radio. But Luther stayed with it 72 years. Can you believe that?
One of a kind, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Everybody-
you knew him personally.
Oh yeah, Luther and I are big buddies. We came along when I first went to the paper in 1940. He was just starting at the at WDF.
Mm-hmm.
So we came up together. But Luther and I were good friends all along, and I still admired Luther, and really kind of miss him because although he's in a different area, I had a lot of chances to be with him and talk with him.
He tells the story about when the mail came in and Buddy House was opening the records, and he opens up the Singing Dogs and Jingle Bells, and Buddy plays it immediately, and they dedicated it to J.B. Collins, and you called up and said, if I had the guts, I'd turn you all off. You didn't like Singing Dogs.
Well, we had a lot of fun together.
And I understand that you used to request Barbara Streisand a lot.
Not really. She was not one of my favorite people.
I thought she was.
No, I'm afraid not.
I had 2 or 3 people say, mention Barbara Streisand and you'll get a good laugh out of J.B.
Yeah, she was. She's okay. I just wasn't one of my favorite people.
Wasn't one of your favorites? You liked Doris Day, though, didn't you?
Oh, I love Doris. Yeah, she was a different type.
Yeah.
Buddy House, one of my buddies, he went away too quick.
Yeah.
If you knew Buddy House, you were special.
You know, the funniest story Buddy told was when they moved the fair to Amnicola Highway. And Buddy says, there's this big long line, Luther, and they were waiting to get in these little houses out in the field. And said everybody come out was smiling and said Portalet on the side. And Luther, it was all he could do to keep him cracking up. It was all, and we used to call him when Tennessee played Alabama. Luther, I got 2 tickets to the Tennessee-Alabama game. And Luther would say, give me that number, buddy. 4, 2, 3, 5, 6, click. He'd leave off the last 2 numbers.
That was one of Buddy's favorite
Buddy and Luther were just like that.
Well, Buddy and I were close too. He was in the office with me there together.
Well, now he wrote a column also on Sunday.
He had a column. But Buddy was one of a kind. I don't know anybody even came close to Buddy House.
Yeah. VW testers claim gas speed marks. 39 miles per gallon reported. Buddy House, and this was back in the 80s. Buddy House wrote that.
Yeah.
Yeah, got that article.
Buddy was a great automotive man. Everybody looked up to him almost.
And I know you're going to remember this. I got a picture here from 1978, and it says City Attorney Gene Collins pictured with Paul Clark and Jim Everly, and they were talking about a contract for city workers. You remember the Public Works Department? They had a short strike one time, didn't they? And I don't remember what it was over. I guess wages. But Paul Clark got them back to work. You remember that?
I knew all the people that worked with him. I'm not sure about that particular incident. I don't believe they had a strike. I don't remember a strike in City.
You don't remember? Okay,
No.
I may be mistaken. Yeah. I thought we went down to city yards. And
well, it could have happened.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. Paul Clark was a very, how would you describe him?
Well, very effective official. He got things done. He did it Paul's way, and it was usually very done well. I admire Paul.
One of the things he did, he had the guts enough to close the Walnut Street Bridge when the engineers told him, said, look, structurally, this has got to be closed. It's just not safe. And I remember the morning that Paul Clark closed the Walnut Street Bridge. He did. That was during his. Yeah. And that took a brave move because that was one of the main arteries to North Chattanooga. I don't think we had C.B. Robinson
when
Bridge
it
at that
happened.
time.
We were sitting around the table, and he said, "The bridge is closed," and that was it.
Yeah. That was during Paul Clark's term.
Yeah.
And another news story during Paul Clark's term, and you were on top of this, was when the water turned brown. You remember the night everybody turned their water on throughout the city of Chattanooga?
I don't remember that.
And the water turned, and Betty Clark says, y'all better get down here because we got a crisis on our hands.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I rember that because we put Paul on the air.
If the water turns brown, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, well, they had the state people come in here and a lot of officials. Yeah. Well, what do you want to be remembered as?
A person who treated everybody fairly and appreciated their relationship. That I was a friend and enjoyed their company. Not really a lot.
Yeah, but you've done a lot.
You ever think about that?
J.B., you've done a lot.
Well, I guess.
You've told us the story. You've told us the story in an honest and factual way.
I tried to do
what
that.
What more could a person want?
That was my job, Earl. And I guess the Lord prepared me for that. And I hope I did an acceptable job of it.
I don't remember
I tried to.
I don't remember them ever running a retraction on any of your stories.
I don't either. I don't.
You were right the first time.
I could have done it. I don't remember either. I would have been glad to do it, but I tried to treat everybody like I wanted to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
And I've run into some good people, run into some questionable folks. I've had I thank the Lord for my 60 years at the paper. That's a long time. 59 years.
And you owe a lot of it to the McDonald family and to Lee Anderson.
Yeah. Lee was a great guy, no question about it. Lee Anderson, one of the finest people I ever knew. And but Roy McDonald is just like a daddy to me.
You told me about Mr. Roy.
He did some things for me that my daddy wouldn't even do or hadn't done.
Mm-hmm.
When he sent my kids to...
Yeah, that's a story.
He kept me on and said, I used to fly down every
Wow.
2 weeks to see my family over an 8-month period while they were down there. My kid getting well from this. Mr. Roy sent me down there every 2 weeks by plane.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was there for 2 weeks, but I made many trips to visit my family and come back and go to work the next free press. What boss would do that?
No, not many. Somebody else we haven't mentioned, but he loves you.
Well, he
Curtis Adams.
well, Curtis and I were on different planes.
Yeah, he was in the advertising department, and you were in the editorial department. Yeah. Is there anybody else that we've not mentioned that you want to give a shout out to? We
Well,
mentioned a lot of them, the ones
Yeah.
that I could think of.
my mind is not functioning up to the,
Yeah. Well, there was one story. There was one story. Lee said that you went with him some to the Billy Graham crusade back in 1953 at the Warner Park Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
And who was the religion editor at that time? It was a very famous writer, but the
Yeah.
stories were so good that AP and UPI picked them up.
I can see him. My
Mhm,
mind is.
mhm.
He died.
Yeah.
But
But his stories were so
I'm
good.
embarrassed not to be
Well,
able.
that's all right,
he
man.
He was a personal friend of mine.
Yes. But Lee said y'all to sit on the front row.
Yeah. He left the paper and went with the Billy Graham and wrote for him.
Yeah. He was a good writer, and after
Yeah.
we finish our interview, I'll think of his name.
I will too. Well, I
Yeah.
don't know why.
But he was with the paper quite a while,
He
and Lee
was,
spoke very
and
highly
a
of
good
him.
friend of mine, and
Mhm.
I can't think of his name. I'm very embarrassed.
What's your advice to young people that are aspiring to go into journalism? What's your advice to them?
To be truthful at all times, regardless of the circumstances, and that takes extra effort sometimes. But don't ever tell them a lie. In other words, always write the truth, regardless of whom it hurts.
And those young reporters at the paper would come to you from time to time for advice.
Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know. I would
Well,
give
some
it.
of them have told me.
I was just there a long time. I thank the Lord for my years at the paper. I enjoyed them all.
Did you think about the times any?
Well, they were always the competitor. You know, Springer Gibson was on the Times. I was on the Free Press, and we would fight. We would battle for the news because he had different deadlines than I did.
Yeah.
I had to rush down to the paper. He was still.
Right.
He had all afternoon to
Yeah.
do.
I think it's funny there at the city commission room. You were on the right and he was on the left. Well, generally the Free Press is known for being the right and the Times is known for being the left. And you all sat that way at the city commission meetings.
I wasn't aware of that, but we both sat. We both covered the meetings there.
Yeah.
Springer was a great guy.
All right, here's a question for you. Radio. I guess you remember when WDOD entered this market, don't you? 1925?
I was not aware of that. I wasn't that close to the. But I
You
was
weren't a
pretty-
radio fan?
A radio fan. We all was radio fans, but Luther Attingale was my connection.
Yeah, okay. Well, this was 1925 when the radio station entered the market. And then television came in the late 40s and early 50s. It changed things a little bit.
I'm sure of that.
Yeah. Newspapers have changed too.
I guess so. I have been away from it for 17 years now.
You still read the paper?
Oh, yeah. I take the paper every day. I get work the puzzles, too.
You do?
Yeah.
And you see if your name's in the obituaries?
No, yeah, I have to check that every day.
Check that every day.
I'm.
Well, you got a great wife, Polly. She's a volunteer down for Ben Hayden's Changed Lives. She's been doing that for many, many years.
Polly was at the paper.
Yeah, and you're very active at First Presbyterian Church.
I'm a retired deacon of the First Pres. Gideon.
Oh, tell me about being a Gideon. How did that happen?
Well, I just had a chance to be. I had an opportunity to be a Gideon. I found out that their job was to get money to buy scriptures to be sent over the whole world. I said, that's a great thing to do. I want to get in on that.
So you used to go out on Gideon Sunday and make the talks at the churches?
I would. I was pretty active for a while till I could keep moving. I'm still a member, but I can't do much now. I can't walk very far without. When you get to be 100, you know you're limited in your physical.
You sure don't act like you're.
Well,
you don't act like you're.
The Lord has given me a good mind.
Do you still go out and play golf?
No, I had to quit about 2 years ago.
They weren't happy at Brainerd about that.
I know it. I quit. Excuse me.
You were the dean. You were the dean of the golfers out there.
I played golf up until just about a year and a half ago, but
you were pretty good too, weren't you?
No, not very. Golf is like making love. You don't have to be good at it.
Oh me. Anything else you want to tell me?
I just appreciate my relationship. You and I have always gotten along very well. I admire you for your work. And
when I worked on Sundays, you were the first thing that I read early Sunday mornings.
Well, Luther and I admire Luther too. Your buddy.
Oh yeah.
Everybody loved Luther, and we always got along together. You and Luther.
Oh yeah. What made Luther the legend that he was?
His personality, I think, and his willingness to do and go and respond to everybody that wanted to use him for everything,
including lost dogs and cats.
He just had the kind of personality that everybody enjoyed sharing. Like you got a good personality. You people have a responsibility that.
I'm retired like you are.
Are you retired?
Yeah, I'm retired. I retired last year. Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah, I'm retired. Well, I'm going to let you get you a drink of water, but I want to thank you for spending this time with us this morning.
Enjoyed it.
And your good friend John Wilson is interested in this video that we're making, and I hope it lives on and preserves your heritage. And J.B., thanks so much.
Well, you're a good friend, or always have been. We've gotten along fine, and I hope the Lord will keep blessing you.
And I hope you live a long, long time.
Well, we'll see.
Thanks. J.B. Collins, retired from the News Free Press.
Thank you. Thank you. I was there all night. They put me in jail once, you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In Athens?
They put me in jail in Athens.
What for?
Well, I heard they were going to take the ballot box, and the people in office take the ballot box and take out the votes of the GIs that was against them and put in their own ballots. And so they said they're going to be by here a little bit with the ballot box to change it. And so I was waiting when they came by. I shot a picture. I got a picture of them with that ballot box. They were going to do all this changing it. Well, when I shot that picture, the man in charge took my camera, put me in jail, tore up my film so that I couldn't have a record of them stealing the ballot box. I caught them in the act, see. But they destroyed the evidence of it. And so they put me in jail. I stayed there for a while talking to the fellow that had been put in jail for voting wrong. A black guy, and we had a little talk. I stayed about 2 hours, and they came and apologized to me, but they didn't return my picture. I took a picture. I wish I could still. I got a picture of them with the ballot box in their arms, but that picture never was published.
Did you write a story about it?
Oh yeah,
and the story was printed.
Yeah.
Did you tell them that they captured your?
I told them
camera?
I told them everything because I stayed there the whole rest of the night. That was with thousands of shots. They got into the battle, you know, the Battle of Athens.
Really?
Yeah. You don't remember the Battle of Athens?
I can't.
The GIs had just come home to take over the government from a bad government that they had said it was going on. Things were going along bad. We're going to change things. The GIs and the people that are in said, "You're not going to change us." So they had a standoff all night long. There's been 1,000 shots fired back and forth.
Was anybody killed?
Nobody killed. Nobody killed, but they
were firing guns.
All night long. Finally, the GIs ran the other people out, and they won. They took over.
Yeah.
But I was there the whole night. I never forget that. Never will forget that.
Sounds like you won't. Sounds like that's a memory that will be embedded in your mind the rest of your life.
I never saw anything like it. When the shooting started, the town was crowded. The streets were shooting between the GIs and the people that
incumbents.
So when the shooting started, it was just dark, starting to get dark. People started running for cover in town. The town was loaded, hundreds of people. They all started, and I ran into a little cubby, into the front of a store, and my nose was right up against the window like this. People piled up on top, trying to get away from the shotguns, the shooting. And the little sign says, "Athens, a friendly city."
You found out how friendly it was.
Athens, a friendly city, and the gunshots was going on all over me. The people were piling in. Oh, that was terrible. I never had been in anything like that before.